Bro.
I don't know. I mean, it's a
They're
good
just not
question.
very smart.
They're just not very smart. I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I don't know.
They're women. I mean, what do you expect?
They're women. Come on.
Primarily, I wanted to focus on Bobby Fischer, of course, because of Russia being in the news right now.
Yeah,
invading their neighbor.
That is kind of what brought me into this. I watched a little video on YouTube about, the guy that defeated the Soviet Union without arms, and he's just an interesting guy. He's very. Both of his parents were doctors, incredibly intelligent people. His mother was Jewish, and with all this talk about Putin denazifying, I thought, what better than to learn about a very level-headed, because his parents were very smart, obviously not anti-Semitic because his mother was Jewish guy, and take him as our shining beacon of how to defeat the Soviet Union and how with our principles and level-headedness and lack of anti-Semitism we can combat Putin.
All right.
Anyways,
I'm not sure if I agree with all that, but
am I wrong? I didn't watch too much of the video. Maybe I'm wrong about who Bobby Fischer was.
Here's an early Bobby Fischer interview.
Was she a good player?
No, not too good. The women are really very good players. I guess I could give every one of them a night and still win easily. Even the world champion, this Russian woman, Bukova, they're all night easily.
Why is this? Do women make bad chess players?
Oh, they're terrible chess players. I mean, some are better than others, But,
why
and men don't play in men's tournaments. I don't know why. I guess they're just not so smart.
Does this apply to all women, do you think?
Well, I guess so. I don't know. They have never turned out a good woman chess player. Never one that could ever stand up against a man in the history of chess.
All right. I love that interview.
Is that true?
What?
Is that true? Are there in the top tier? How many women are in the top tier of chess players?
Not that many. There's a few, but there's none in the top 10. There's a couple in the top 100, though. Bobby Fischer changed his position on women. He's real young in this, obviously. He sort of modulates a position later in life on women, on the women thing. But yeah, this is a pretty. It gives you a good idea, bro.
I don't know. I mean, it's
They're
a
just
good
not
question.
very smart.
They're just not very smart. I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I don't know.
They're women. I mean, what do you expect?
They're women. Come on. I'll give them a night. Hey, honey, you can have a night. I'll still beat you. What are you going to do?
See, he is a goon, ain't he? It's like the movie where there were brothers in the Bronx.
But, I mean, if you have a problem like that, we could just step outside. We could figure it out.
Oh, man, there's no problem.
Damn right, screw. How you like me now? My boy's wicked smart.
No, Matt Damon.
Oh.
Anyway, Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Yeah, what you were talking about was this match of the century, they called it. Fischer-Spassky, the World Championship match where Fischer won the championship. Fischer won the U.S. Championship in 1945. At age 14, he was and still is the youngest person ever to win the U.S. Title. He was indeed a chess prodigy, maybe one of the best of all time, perhaps the best. It's really arguable. His early career, he culminated in this 1962 Candidates Tournament. This is basically the world playoffs to determine who's going to face the challenger for world championship status. Is the candidates. In 62, he placed 4 out of 8. So that was, in his mind, a defeat to the Soviets. He placed behind Tigran Petrosian, Efim Geller, and Paul Keres in 4th. He accused the Soviets of collusion against him after this loss. What they did is they basically, against the other Soviet players, they would take quick draws, easy games, to save their energy to beat Fischer. And they changed the format after that. So they can't do it anymore. But maybe the only time Fischer's paranoia was real.
So they had like a calculated strategy just to beat Fischer, and it involved, I guess, not. I don't know, what would you say? It would be like unsportsmanlike.
It was collusion.
It was it was collusion. It was technically okay under the rules, but it was unsportsmanlike to do it.
Well, you can't prove that somebody made it a quick draw. I mean, but you can look at the time they took to make the moves, and you can look at the game itself. It's all recorded.
Mm-hmm.
Seems pretty obvious that that's exactly what happened. But, Fischer complained about everything. He always accused everybody of everything. He was incredibly paranoid. He's very strange personality-wise. This guy was very unusual in a lot of ways. This is the tournament. This is the tournament of the match of the century. Spassky versus Fischer. If you saw the Queen's Gambit, this is what it was based around. This showdown between the U.S. and Russia.
Well, Spassky is waiting.
Right, and waiting and wondering whether Bobby will show or not show. And there's absolutely dead silence in the hall.
Spassky is pacing, he's nervous, and...
Wait, here comes Fischer, coming on the stage saying that he was caught in traffic. And I think Spassky was visibly relieved.
And also perhaps pained.
It didn't look like this match would happen, but finally it happened. And
there it is. There's the handshake. The match of the century begins. Here it is. Crazy time in history. So this was his comeback. He basically retired in, I think, 1962, but he came out of retirement to win the world championship because that's what he was determined to do. He crushed all of his competition leading up to this. He defeated Mikhail Tal, Korchnoi, Tigran Petrosian, destroyed Taimanov and Bent Larson. He crushed the entire field. And then he beat Spassky.
Okay, so what was it? What was it about the match that makes it the game of the century? That's what. There was another one that I guess they call it the game of the century. Maybe there's two of them that are called that, but it was against this guy called David Byrne in 1956. And this
I might have it right here, the Immortal game, if that's the one you're... Daniel Byrne?
This is 13-year-old future world champion Bobby Fischer against Donald Byrne.
Yeah, I've got the analysis. We're going to go through that game. That's called that's Fischer's Immortal.
Okay.
They give nicknames to some of these games, and they're sort of the games everybody knows. They're like the first ones you learn when you learn about chess. But Fischer's Immortal is this specific game you're talking about.
Okay.
I wanted to point out here, Magnus Carlsen, his play style, he's like granite. Like you cannot, he will wear you down, dude. He's not a super aggressive attacker. He plays a pretty boring style, but he just slowly beats you over the course of the game and outplays you.
It's like small incremental advantages over the course of time.
He's a boa constrictor, man.
Okay.
But Fischer, he was an attacking player. He was very aggressive. He was a true genius, very creative, and he added a lot of things to the game that still are around to this day. So yeah, this is the Immortal, Fischer's Immortal. We'll go through it here. Very cool game.
So that's what I'm interested in. You were talking about these games. You were talking about the games with the computers earlier, and you can tell that they're not humans playing it. And I'm looking at this. I'm reading comments about this, and what am I looking? Tell me what's so beautiful about this, because everybody that knows chess is looking at this and just they're amazed and they think it's a beautiful thing to look at.
It'll be obvious once you see it.
Okay.
You asked me another question earlier. The reason that the Fischer-Spassky game was important, right? I think that was the question.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I mentioned it earlier, but I'll say it again. And it wasn't really, there was basically only two other times when it was a non-Soviet or non-Russian world champion, but between World War II and the dissolution of the Soviet Union, Fischer was the only non-Soviet world champion. He went over there to take that title away from them for the Americans, and he did. And the Russians were not happy about it, dude. Dude, in Russia, chess is like football over here or something. It's their biggest thing. It's bigger than soccer. You know, in most of Europe, it's soccer, but in Russia, it's chess, man. Okay, so here we go. This is Fischer's Immortal. Knight F3, Knight F6, C4, G6. Fischer plays the Grunfeld here. So we have Knight C3, Bishop G7, D4, castles. So Fischer playing a modern opening here. Modern openings, you don't control the center with pawns. You control them. You allow your opponent to control the center with pawns, and then you attack the center from a distance with like this bishop. Not that arrow. You don't occupy the center directly. But in the Grunfeld, you do. So here we get bishop F4, and Fischer goes D5, Grunfeld, Queen B3, common here. Putting pressure on this pawn. This prevents the bishop from being developed because the pawn would fall. D captures, Queen captures. C6. White takes the center with E4. Knight D7, Rook D1, Knight D6, and Queen was under attack, so the Queen moves. Queen C5. Fischer plays Bishop G4. This is not something you typically want to allow. This probably wouldn't be allowed nowadays. You would want to prevent that with like H3 or something. And here's the first mistake. You can see the evaluation dropping here on the left side of the screen.
What's the evaluation? What's that mean?
The computer evaluates the position, and it's giving black -2 here. So it's winning. It's a winning position for black.
Okay.
See, the white bar is shrunk. Like if you go back one, it'll even out again. This is the even position.
Okay.
And white makes a mistake here. First of all, this is a positional mistake. You've already developed the bishop to F6, and now you're going to waste a tempo to move it again. You could have just developed it to G5 initially. So you're wasting a tempo for one. And for two, it allows black a genius move by Bobby Fischer here. Unbelievably brilliant move. Knight A4. Now, at first glance, it looks like you just lose the knight, right?
Yeah, but I guess you're also threatening the queen. But you wouldn't be threatening it. But yeah, the knight can just take it. Okay, yeah.
The knight looks like the knight can just take it.
Yeah.
But white can't just take it. If white just takes it, then black plays. The pawn falls here because this knight was defending the pawn. You see that?
Okay. Yeah.
So the knight moves. The pawn falls. So you have a pawn for a knight, but that's, white's still up material here. But the problem is now the queen is attacked, so black wins a tempo here. So, maybe the queen moves. And then this bishop falls. And now black's up material. And the knight here cannot recapture because it's pinned to the rook by the bishop. You see that?
Okay.
Let's do it again.
All right.
This is the brilliancy. Knight A4. It looks like you could just take it, but you really can't because this pawn is weak. And once you take it, you're putting pressure on the queen here. The queen has to move, and then you just capture the bishop. And the knight can't recapture because it's pinned. So after knight A4, white moves the queen because, as we just discussed, he can't take the knight. It's poisoned. But it doesn't matter because the problem is now Bobby just captures the knight, and the pawn is still weak. White recaptures with the B pawn. Then Bobby takes the center, pawn, E4 pawn. And the problem with white's position here is white is stuck in the center of the board. He hasn't developed his light square bishop yet, and he can't castle to safety. White takes on E7, attacking both these pieces. Bobby moves the queen, giving up the exchange here, it looks like, but not really.
Oh, okay. And he couldn't. I was thinking, why can't the queen can't take the bishop, because then the other queen,
the queen's defending,
would take that queen. Okay.
From a distance, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So Bobby moves the queen to b6. White trying desperately to develop here so he can castle. Doesn't have time. Bobby Fischer captures on c3. White tries to defend here by attacking the queen. He can't just capture the rook because he's too far behind. He's trying to get to safety here. Rook e8 check. Notice something here. Bobby is sacrificing his queen on this move. So White attacks the queen.
This is what makes it like, I guess, kind of like the legendary game, right? That he sacrifices the queen.
There's three things. Knight a4 was the original brilliancy. This knight a4 was a brilliancy. Nobody would have come up with this shit. Nobody. Maybe like, I don't know. Maybe there's a couple of GMs, top GMs out there that could have came up with this strategy, but White attacks the queen, and Bobby gives check. So I can't capture the queen yet. And now on this move, Bobby just moves the bishop. He gives up the queen in order to attack this bishop with check. White takes the queen, and now he's dead lost. Bishop c4 check. King has to go to g1. Now knight e2 check. King only squares f1, going in front of the bishop again. So Bobby takes with a discovered check on the king. This is called a windmill. White king can't go here because of the rook, so he has to go back to g1. Now black can check him again with the knight. And now he has to go in front of the bishop again. This is called, like I said, this is called a windmill. Absolutely devastating attack. And now Bobby calmly takes the b pawn, exposing an attack on the queen. Queen's running out of squares. Queen takes b6. Bobby captures the rook, making some room for the king here to escape, but it doesn't matter. It's too late. Fischer just hunts him down here at this point. Now he goes in for the kill. So that's it. That's Fischer's Immortal. When he was 13, he made this brilliancy with the knight a4 and then the windmill and the queen sacrifice. Just an excellent, excellent game, man. You can see Fischer's attacking style, very aggressive. And he came up with these brilliant ideas like that nobody would ever think of. Incredibly creative. But he was definitely a diva. He always argued with all the officials who put on the tournaments. He would argue with them. He would demand all these different things that he wanted. Like he didn't like people in the room with him. He didn't like any noise. He didn't like anything, basically. He was a complainer. He refused to defend his title against Karpov because he won the world championship against Spassky. He didn't want to defend it. Because he couldn't come to an agreement over the terms to hold the tournament with the FIDE officials. There's a 60 Minutes interview here I'm going to play a little bit of. They said it took 6 months to get him to agree to do this interview. 1972.
Personality, your background.
This championship match between you and Spassky, is it in any sense a grudge match?
In a sense. I mean, not personally against me, against Spassky, because, I don't care 2 cents about him one way or the other. He's just another guy. But it's against the Russians and, all the lies they've been saying about me.
Do you worry about Spassky?
Not overly. I mean, he's a little better, I think, than the other Russians I've taken on in this series. But,
You've played Spassky. He's beaten you, but you've never beaten him.
Yeah, well, we've only played a few games. So we were just the other day looking through that his games from the Moscow event, that Alekin tournament, and they were atrocious games. He was really he was lost in half the games in that tournament. Really bad games on his part.
Why would that happen to a man who, after all, is the champion of the world?
Well, the champion of the world. First of all, I didn't compete, so he's not really much of a champion. But, he's the best I've got.
I love that bravado.
Where do you get your confidence?
Champion of the world just because I wasn't there. Come on, people.
He reminds me of Trump, doesn't he?
I was thinking that. I was thinking that. Well, he was all right. It was sloppy. The games were sloppy. It was sloppy. He's only the world champion because I wasn't there. I seriously thought that. Like, he said something. I was like, man, that sounds kind of Trumpy. I guess they're both that awful New York accent.
Yeah, that plays a part in it, I think, but in the resemblance, but also like the tone and like the
the bravado and the machismo and the.
I buy it from Fischer though more than Trump maybe. Like,
well, yeah, of course. I mean, he can prove it. You know, he's got something to back it up with.
For some reason, Bobby Fischer never seemed to grow up. Like, his personality is that of a child, even all the way through his life almost. Some of his later interviews, he seems more normal, but like in a lot of these interviews, he seems like a grown-up child, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's definitely, I don't know, a bit off. Yeah, childish, I guess. Childish. He's got that, feels like a 16-year-old, 17-year-old.
Yeah. It's like a child actor thing, but maybe way worse.
Maybe his early success, you know, it's arrested development.
There's a lot of speculation that he has, you know, mental issues, which I don't know if I buy. I don't know. Maybe borderline stuff, but after he beat Spassky, he refused to defend the world championship against Karpov, and he went into retirement. For 20 years, he was in hiding, basically. Not in hiding, but not playing chess. He did come out in 1992 to play again against Spassky in Yugoslavia. Now, at the time, this is during the Yugoslav wars, and the U.S. had placed an embargo on Yugoslavia, and Fischer was warned not to go and not to play, or he would face charges for violating the embargo. He insisted that he was still the world champion because the Soviets, including Karpov, Korchnoi, and Kasparov, were fixing games. And he did go. He did play, beat Spassky. He was issued an arrest warrant, and he went on the run. Through this period, he spent time in Hungary and the Philippines. He was eventually arrested in Japan in 2004 for traveling with invalid passport. Supposedly, Boris Spassky wrote to George H.W. Bush to try to get Fischer some mercy. Fischer himself wrote to Colin Powell to renounce his U.S. citizenship, but everybody ignored him. Eventually, Iceland granted him citizenship for basically bringing notoriety. He died in 2008 with no biological children. He suffered from kidney failure after refusing medical treatment for a urinary tract blockage. He would not take any medicine or get treatment, and he died fairly young. This is the last interview with him alive that I have seen.
Then you sort of put creativity first.
Right. Now, let me explain something about Fischer Random. I've never made any claims that this is the greatest thing, you know, since puffed weed or whatever, you know what I mean? I never made any claims saying that this is perfect. What I say is, it's much better than the old chess. Now, for example, let's say you could have 1 million chess-like games, right? Maybe 1 million of them, or 10 million would be better than Fischer Random. But the point about Fischer Random is, it's basically the same as the old chess, except you get rid of the theory, and it's very easy to remember the rules.
So here he seems pretty normal. He doesn't seem overly like Arrested Development type scenario. Speaks pretty easily and knowledgeably. He's talking about Fischer Random Chess 960, this variant he invented.
It's a variant of the game.
Yeah, it's a very popular variant. The whole point of it is to do away with the opening theory, because basically what I explained earlier about opening theory, you basically memorize positions, 20, 25, up to 30 moves ahead, using chess computers to look for best moves, unique moves that people don't expect, essentially. And Fischer's whole point was this is ruining the game. This is why he's been hating on chess for a long time based on this. He doesn't like it. He doesn't think it's the spirit of the game. In his mind, he values the creativity and the knowing the game more than memorizing.
Mm-hmm. And this would be kind of in contrast to, I guess my understanding is like Magnus Carlsen, where he's the way it was I had explained to me is he's Magnus Carlsen is kind of like the culmination of just trying to memorize the machine learning, using the computers to just analyze as many games as possible and take out, I guess, the human aspect of strategy and creativity, and just use what the computer developed strategies to best win.
I wouldn't describe it that way.
Okay.
You still have to play the rest of the game, but the problem is you're going to have a better position out of the opening if you have this unique idea that you planned out ahead of time. You still have to play the middle game. You still have to know the end game, but the opening can give you an advantageous position just based on you memorizing a lot of moves.
So in Magic, there are certain players, like a lot of the Japanese players, for example, that they learn how to use a hypergeometric distribution calculator, which is you're figuring percentages based on population size. And when they explain the game, I guess this would be more like a mid to late game thing. They are just constantly looking at each card, going through in their head, all right, what card do I need? In this board state, what is the best card that I can draw? What are my percentages to draw that card versus what would be the second best, and what are my percentages to draw it? And so they will play that turn based on, okay, if I've got a 75% chance to draw my second best card, whereas I've got a 20% to draw the best, should I play towards drawing my second? I should probably play towards developing a board state to where my second best card is going to be more advantageous than my best card. It's just all based on understanding the numbers and just kind of breaking down percentages, I guess, step by step, as opposed to like really employing strategy. It's just based on numbers. What's the best play I can make turn by turn? Whereas somebody like an LSV, he's not really breaking down the numbers in the same way and thinking about his chances to draw X card from 40 cards left in his deck. It's these wild, I guess he would kind of be like the Bobby Fischer without the Bobby Fischer, where is these wild plays, these lines of attack that no one else sees, and just kind of the embodiment of creativity and not winning through those little small incremental advances. It's a couple flurries of really big plays that just sweeps the game up.
The comparison you could make there, yeah. So, like, playing to win as opposed to just playing for a draw could be the difference. Mm-hmm. Like, people have criticized Magnus for too many draw or playing drawish games, but Fischer obviously was a very controversial figure. Wasn't really well liked even at the time by most people. He was very anti-Semitic, as you mentioned. He did have a Jewish mother. Also, his father was probably Jewish, based on interviews and stuff. And there was a documentary done trying to dig into who maybe his real father was, because the person that supposedly it was, apparently it wasn't. It was this other Jewish fellow. There's tons of clips of him being anti-Semitic, despite being literally Jewish. I'm not sure what the basis of that is, where that comes from, but here's this is an interview he did hours after the 9/11 attacks.
Our whole foreign policy has been wrong for the last several hundred years. We are going to pull back all our troops from all over the world. We're going to stop supporting Israel, and so on. You see, they're not going to admit.
So the first part of this, I can get on board with most of it, man. This is him in the Philippines. He spent a lot of time in the Philippines, on a radio station there.
No, they're going to say these terrorists, these criminals, this cowardly act will be punished. You know, and I expect soon there's going to be a new president after the White House is blown up. He'll be in the Colorado mountains, you know, hundreds of feet underneath the Rocky Mountains there, saying this dastardly act of blowing up the White House will be punished. You know, just constantly talk about punishing these cowardly people until the United States is destroyed. The United States is not going to be reasonable, you know? It's not going to admit that it's the bad guy, and it's always been the bad guy. It was the bad guy in World War II. It was the bad guy in World War I. It was the bad guy when it invaded the Philippines, took it from Spain. It was the bad guy when the white man came and killed the American Indians. When it brought
sounds like a song.
Yeah, I can get on board with most of this, but just wait.
It's always been the bad guy. Democracy is just a lot of bullshit.
I don't know if I'd be saying this like hours after the September 11th attacks, but
it's just been a cover for the criminal nature of the United States of America.
There are fears, Bobby, that this might start something worse, like a third world war. Do you think that's possible?
I think it's possible. Unfortunately, that's the big danger, that the Jews, these lunatic people, are going to take us all with them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping, as I say, for a 7 days in May scenario where sane people will take over the U.S. now. You know what I mean?
Sane people.
Sane people. Military people, yes. They will imprison the Jews. They will execute several 100,000 of them at least. And they will bring home all the troops from the U.S.
So I'm not sure if you understood or caught all that, but he's talking about 7 Days in May. This is an old movie where there was a military coup in the United States. He's hoping for a military coup and apparently to execute hundreds of thousands of Jews.
Yeah, I mean that's a thing that somebody could do. See, this is my understanding. This the vision I had in my head of who Bobby Fischer was. I think I'd heard some of these interviews at some point. It's kind of stuck with me.
This is the most egregious one I heard.
Like this, there was one. It might have been when he was arrested or something. He just looked really haggard and disheveled, and there was a lot of yelling and the Jews coming up quite often.
I guess he believes in the theory that the Jews are in charge of like the American government, I guess, is what it seems like.
Yeah, so that's something else. Like, I was trying to figure out what he meant by that. You know, is it just the Jews? Are they inherently causing issues? Is it a problem because they're in control of the government? Are they in control of industry so much that they're able to cause all these problems? Or are they causing the problems in Israel? Are they here causing problems? I don't know. He doesn't really lay it out very well, I guess.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.